Sit and listen while the fun begins. Hearts are broken, the bad guy wins. Sit and listen, all the cutting up is easy, and it isn't for the queasy or the weak of heart. Well, you had better start for home while there's still time.
Never sing my music again. Not here, not anywhere. Do you understand? Never again. My music is for Phoenix. Only she can sing it. Anyone else that tries, dies.
Hey, author and horror news contributor William Burke back with another trip to the Cult Movie Museum. This time we've got two films with very different takes on rock and roll music. First up is Brian DePalma's musical ode to the Phantom of the Opera, produced 14 years before the Broadway musical Phantom of the Opera. It's 1974's Phantom of the Paradise. A dedicated rock composer's music is stolen by evil music mogul Swan, who then frames him for drug possession.
Liar! But I'm innocent! Swan stole my music and framed me!
The composer escapes prison only to be mutilated in a record press and left for dead. He then becomes the Phantom, terrorizing Swan's mega rock palace. To save his music, he signs a contract with Swan, who takes ownership of his soul. Phantom of the Paradise is a combination of Goethe's FAUST and the Phantom of the Opera, with a dash of the picture of Dorian Gray, all shifted into the rock and roll world. William Finley does a great job portraying the Phantom, but the film really belongs to songwriter and actor Paul Williams. The diminutive star was an unlikely choice to play Mephistopheles, but his sheer magnetism casts a giant shadow. At the time, Williams had already written mega hits for the Carpenters and Three Dog Night, going on to nab a truckload of Grammys and Academy Awards. He even wrote the Rainbow Connection for the Muppet movie. And if you don't love that song, your soul is bankrupt. Williams appeared on virtually every 70s television series and even played an ape in Battle for the Planet of the Apes. He also voiced the Penguin for Batman the Animated Series and has written songs for Daft Punk. He's a staggeringly talented individual. Williams also composed Phantom's soundtrack, satirizing 1950s nostalgia, glam rock, and the dark theatrics of Alice Cooper, as well as providing emotional ballads sung by Jessica Harper.
Man, you better get yourself a castrato for this, because it's a little out of my range.
The other standout actor is Gerrit Graham, portraying the macho yet effeminate Beef. It's a campy, politically incorrect, but undeniably funny performance. Visually, Phantom of the Paradise is amazing, showcasing DePalma's camera and editing genius. The wardrobe and production design are top-notch, perfectly capturing the theatrical realm of rock music. The problem is that taking on FAUST, Phantom of the Opera, Dorian Gray, rock's many subgenres, and the music industry as a whole is too much for one movie. Also, much of the music Phantom satirized already had elements of self-parody built in. It's hard to spoof Sha Na Na or the Grand Guignol theatrics of Alice Cooper when they'd already embraced their own cliches. Even Kiss was releasing their second album, honing an image more outrageous than anything in this film. Phantom is so overloaded with elements, both satirical and visual, that it requires a second viewing to fully appreciate. It's an entertaining, visually dazzling cult favorite that, with a bit of refinement, could have been a genuine classic. And between movies, check out my novels, Dominant Species, Primeval Waters, and Scorpius Rex, available on Amazon. Trust me, you'll love them.
Trust me. Trust me.
And this is what we think of the Ramones.
We've got to stop her!
Things sure have changed since we got kicked out of high school.
Where are you going?
Going to Mr. McGree's class.
Oh, well, I'm happy to see that some students still are interested in their studies.
Hey, we're not students, we're the Ramones.
Ramones? You're responsible for making that horrible rock and roll music? You've turned the whole school against me. Do your parents know that you're Ramones?
Our second feature takes a much more upbeat approach to the subject. In fact, it's a love letter to 1950s drive-in movies, teenage rebellion, and above all, rock music. So grab your hall pass and go back to school with the Ramones in 1979's Rock and Roll High School.
Hi, everybody. I'm Riff Randall, and this is Rock and Roll High School.
Riff Randall and her fellow students at Vince Lombardi High School just want to have fun and rock out to the Ramones. Riff's BFF, Kate Rambeau, is in love with quarterback Tom Roberts, who's equal parts jock and nerd.
Do you think Tom Roberts is cute?
Yeah, but he's such a dork.
But Tom is in love with Riff,
I was kind of hoping that you'd set me up with Riff Randall.
who in turn only has eyes for Joey Ramone.
Joey!
It's all fun and games until the school's new principal turns their adolescent world upside down.
Obviously, you do not know who I am. I am Miss Togar, and I am the new principal of this school.
While Phantom of the Paradise was a dark satire, this movie is pure fun. It's like being injected with 100 cc's of cinematic serotonin. With its barrage of sight gags, often dropped on top of other sight gags, Rock and Roll High School plays like a Looney Tunes version of Fast Times at Ridgemont High, except it was created 3 years before Ridgemont High.
You have managed to upset the entire school with this godforsaken noise.
Noise? That's the Ramones' best album. #1 with a bullet.
PJ Soles was born to play Riff Randall.
Cherish this moment forever.
This is how I like
Her unrestrained enthusiasm is infectious. This was Soul's first lead role after winning performances in Carrie and Halloween. She has great chemistry with Dee Young, playing her brainy best friend.
Tell me exactly what you want out of life. I want to get laid before I'm 30.
Vincent Van Patten is a perfect de facto straight man, displaying impeccable comic timing.
Maybe I'm too forward.
Oh, sorry, Montevandi's down the block.
I'm Hep Daddy-O. I'm into the Ramones.
Sure you are.
Paul Bartel, who directed the cult classic Death Race 2000, shines as the well-meaning yet hopelessly square music teacher.
This is the rockometer.
Gee.
It is used to measure comparative rock and roll intensity levels. Watch the mouse while I turn it on.
But former Warhol star Mary Warnoff nearly steals the show as the rock and roll hating Ms. Togar. Warnoff and Bartel became an unofficial team at New World Pictures before starring together in Bartel's black comedy Eating Raoul.
You're crazy if you think I'm getting near those vicious beasts.
What, you itty witty baby?
Yes, what about your professionalism? What about your dedication? What about your discipline?
Blow it out your ass.
I think you failed, Miss Toga. I think we're going to have to do it my way.
There's even a cameo from Roger Corman regular Dick Miller. And of course we get one of the all-time great rock and roll bands, the Ramones, playing all their biggest non-hits, which I can't actually include on YouTube. I still can't fathom why I Want You Around never made the chart.
Hey guys, you know, people say that your music is loud and destructive and lethal to mice, but I think you're the Beethovens of our time.
That was a good one, Mr. McGree.
Their grand entrance was inspired by 1958's High School Confidential. This Roger Corman-produced New World Pictures production was originally conceived as Disco High, but thankfully director Allan Arkush steered Corman into doing a rock and roll movie. And what a rock movie it is. The Ramones songs aside, licensing this soundtrack would cost millions today, with cuts from the Velvet Underground, MC5, Chuck Berry, Fleetwood Mac, Brian Eno, Nick Lowe, Alice Cooper, Devo, and Todd Rundgren. This was Arkush's second directing credit, sort of. Previously, he'd co-directed Hollywood Boulevard with friend and fellow film editor Joe Dante.
You're just in time for your first shot.
Oh, what do we do?
Oh, it's a delightful scene. You four girls massacre 300 Asiatic soldiers. Now your motivation, very important, is to massacre 300 Asiatic soldiers.
It's a loving satire of New World Pictures, comprised of about 30% stock footage from other Corman films. But don't let that put you off. Hollywood Boulevard is a lot of fun.
Oh, I'm sorry. We don't let any more mice in here. They've been exploding all over the place. Oh, you got headphones. Great, great. Just don't get too close to the PA.
But Rock and Roll High School is 100% Arkush's movie, and he threw himself into it mind, body, and soul. Unfortunately, he threw himself so hard that he eventually collapsed from exhaustion, forcing his buddy Joe Dante to finish the final day of shooting. It's easy to see how that happened. Rock and Roll High School cost $200,000, which would still only be about $840,000 today. Yet it looks like a major studio film, albeit a slightly ragged one. The sheer amount of camera setups, sight gags, background performers, semi-choreographed musical numbers, and pyrotechnics are staggering. I don't know how Arkush pulled it off. I love that the drum majorettes are dancing to the Ramones. It's so not punk, yet it's perfect. And that's the universe I really want to live in.
Okay, I hope I can remember everything you taught me, though. Tom, you're nervous. Here, have a drink. It'll calm you down.
And there's enough teenage drinking and pot smoking for any 5 other youth movies. This was back when you could show underage kids swilling actual liquor brands. Arkush went on to direct some major studio films before becoming a successful television producer and director with hit shows like Crossing Jordan and Heroes. He's an incredibly talented man with a rock and roll heart. I was still in high school when this movie came out, and I confess that I had a teenage crush on Cheryl, played by Marla Rosenfield. She only has a few lines, but she's always hovering around like some halter-top, lip-glossed angel. In case you haven't figured it out yet, I love this movie, and I'm always first in line for any revival screenings.
Excuse me, but I think it's obvious I'm first in line.
I am first in line.
I am first in line.
I'm first in line. And if you don't like it, you can put it where the monkey puts the nuts.
You know, I've seen this movie a dozen times, and I still don't know what that means. More great movies are coming to the museum, so like and subscribe, or you might miss them. Hey, quick note, after you finish watching Rock and Roll High School, maybe you should check out Martin Popoff's amazing history of the Ramones. This is a beautiful hardcover book that I can't recommend highly enough. And for some old-fashioned drive-in style horror thrills with a modern twist, check out my novels. And as always, thanks for watching.